In the know, we're here to talk about Zion. What in the world is going on? And the Pelicans continue to drop games due to injuries. So tune in.
The New Orleans Pelicans select Zion Williamson.
And Holiday, the dribble penetration. So tough going to the goal. High above the rim.
Welcome everybody.
Do we have to change the intro and wait until he plays some more games before? Man, sorry.
Brandon, Boston. Yeah, to the cup after a mid-ranger. There we go.
Jalen Noel for 2. Jordan Hawkins for the 22-foot pull-up. Okay, all right. Hello, everybody. I am Shamit, joined by Jeremy and Mason. Clearly, we are
JRE missing another putback. Let's go.
Clearly, we're in better spirits than I think the team itself might be. I just want to welcome everyone back. We're joined after another uneventful week in which Zion didn't play a game, and then he played a game, and then he didn't play a game. And also, in the game that he played, he had to leave, and no one knew what was going on, and then he came back.
Nobody came back.
So we're going to cover all of that. We're going to talk about an article I just wrote, and then we're going to check in with Jeremy and see what's going on in the Western Conference. So the topic that everyone's here for, what is going on with Zion Williamson? Zion, if you guys haven't known or live under a rock, he came down with some sort of hamstring tightness one game, and then the next day that turned into thigh/quad soreness, and that was on the same leg. And then he had a different left leg hamstring ailment that kept him out of a game. But he came back and he played against the Cavaliers. He had a really good night on an individual level. During that night, around the second quarter or so, he takes an intentional foul, heads straight to the locker room, and disappears. There's no update. Halftime, walks out the tunnel, warming up like normal. Finishes the game, finishes it quite strong, I might add. Looked pretty normal, explosive. We talked to him after the game, and he said something to the effect of, I thought it was something, it was a little scare. We got it checked out. And he said, to my knowledge, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Played on it. I'm okay. I want to pitch it to you guys. Done a lot of talking here. Mason, Jeremy, where are you at with what is going on, and where are you at emotionally? Where are you at logically? What does your brain say? What does your heart say? And let it out.
It's been one hell of a week. Zion's game against the Cavs and then missing a game is like a total encapsulation of my emotional state right now. When it's going well, it's going great, but it's rarely going well. So that's where I am with this. It's like every other injury has a finite time schedule, and that keeps me motivated and believing, hey, around December, these guys may start catching the flow and we may run off some games. Brian Windhorst talked about Joel Embiid in a similar vein early in the week, saying they need to just list him questionable and see if his leg is, good enough, or in these cases, he is good enough to play. I think that's and Joel tells him, I think that's the route the Pelicans are going, but it's just so inconsistent. And if it's just on the player and the medical staff saying, nah, not today, after you see him in shoot around, it's like it excuse my language, Mom. It's a mind fuck. That's what all this is right now. Like, it's just one big mind fuck to the fans. I can't be the only one.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that run through my mind. One is, it's concerning to me that this is happening so early in the season. So that's one. And I feel like with Zion, either, he had to miss the start of the year because of an injury and then came back and like we understood why there were like restrictions and things like that. Or he was ready to start the year. And obviously that he's been progressing in some years to like peak Zion, right? He hasn't been like, I would argue that in the games he's played so far, he's been better early in the season than past seasons. But at the same time, it's concerning that he's having these issues. And every day is kind of touch and go because I don't think I've seen that before. So it just kind of feels like you're stuck in limbo a little bit. And look, he's missed extended time. All of these like little like the body parts that he's injuring or he's missing time with right now. He's missed extended time for in past seasons. Like Christian Clark had a pretty concise tweet about where he's missed time, longer stretches compared to what he's missing games before here. And so it's frustrating, but I'm sure Shamit, you said it. It's injuries are more frustrating for the players, and I think we have to keep that in mind. Yes. And I guess the last thing is when I take a step back and think big picture here. You just gotta like you said, Jeremy. You just gotta throw up your hands. Like, what do you do? And this has been like the quintessential Zion Williamson experience. Is like we've all said, Shamit, we talked at length about if you got to pick between BI and Zion back, a year, 2 years ago. Zion is the guy with that ceiling, and BI is not that guy. And so you just kind of got to ride with Zion if your goal is really to win a title. And just right now, it's tough. It's tough for Z for sure, but it's tough for the fans. It's tough for everyone involved as it relates to what you think you can be with Zion as kind of a focal point of your organization.
And lastly, before Shamit goes back, we're going to talk about Willie and philosophy later on in the pod. But right now, I want to talk about him in the thought process of he has more wins than he has games played with Zion. Like, the player has frustrated, the fans are frustrated. Trust me, the coaching staff is frustrated with this too. Because when he took this interview in 2021, this was not what he signed up for. And he's found a way by hook or by crook, some of his talent, some of his making a way, and he's still winning games and with competitive teams on the court year in and year out.
Yeah, judge him with a full strength team. That's what he's got right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So both of you guys brought up a point about the relative confusion that all of Zion's injuries tend to create. And I talked about this on Twitter a little bit because I think there is some historical context that it feeds into the general mood that everyone's experiencing. Historically, what's happened with Zion injuries is because of the player's own rights to choose to reveal and how to reveal these injuries, and because of some, I think, missteps on the Pelicans' own part in choosing to be transparent, it's created an environment over the last 6 years where the fans and the general public really have no clue what to expect when it comes to Zion injuries. A timetable is set frequently, and that timetable is rarely met when we're talking about return to play. Routine strains seem to take him out of the season, or he'll come back from them and look like a completely different player physically. And so that part of that experience has been a tough ride for everybody. And so now when you have this whole offseason where everyone's talked about he's made changes to his lifestyle, he is depositing good days, and then it's not been, it's been 10 games overall and he's played in 6 of them, and we're experiencing this, I don't know if he's playing tonight or not, combined with the history of the last 5 years, like that just puts you in an exhausting place mentally. And I'm sure, as you guys both mentioned, as the org is in that exact space to the nth degree, and we talk about, Mason brought up the team building aspect of it. And it's like, how do you build around that? How can you cohesively build around that? Because ultimately, like, we can talk about, oh, they should trade for this person, they should do this and that, but we've said it over and over. If the stars aren't stars, and that includes being available, then there's nothing you can do about it. And the other tricky thing is, like, similar to what they experienced with Brandon when this past summer, because he was coming off the injury, Brandon had no real value, right? The last everyone saw of him was the injured version that couldn't produce and couldn't get by Lou Dort, and therefore no one was willing to commit to him. it puts you in the same spot with Zion. You know, I've heard people in the fan base talk about like, well, you know, maybe it's just time to move on. It's like, cool, yeah, who wants him? if this is what it is, right? So I think that's easier said than done. And in one way or another, they are going to have to ride this out until things get better, or things are just catastrophically bad. But there's, you know, or honestly, you know, as we've seen, there's just a middle ground of they're good some days, they're really bad some other days.
And I don't want to. I cross sports with this organization, and I'm trying not to go into this dark place. But we just saw a player who would have hamstring strains and issues and take himself out of games and miss weeks, and he just became a Commander. And he to be fair, he had a hamstring issue, but I think he's going to play this Sunday. But I don't want to put it out there, but I have to put it in the back of mind. Like, is he fed up? And
he being Zion?
Yes, is he fed up with the entire situation, and you know, is starting to plot its exit plan?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing. So I checked in with the org. I've checked in multiple times now. First checked in when the initial 2 games were missed with the right and then the left. And when people didn't really know, because remember that was when Willie said doctor's orders.
Yeah,
he couldn't be at the game.
Yep.
And checked in with the org, and the response I got was, "Hey, this was something that we should have handled a lot better from a communication standpoint. In this case, it's fairly straightforward. He's not right."
All right.
And I was like, "All right, cool." And then this thing happened. This previous game against Orlando, ruled out the day of the game. Checked in with 2 different people this time, and similar response in that, you know, I asked a number of things. Could this be something that's mental? Could this be something that's up? And 2 separate people told me he's trying to play through some stuff at the moment. It's physical. So I think Occam's razor here, if he wanted an exit strategy, there's better ways to do it. Like there's more effective ways to do it. He has a very powerful agency behind him. He has a very powerful agency behind him that can pull a lot of levers to get that out and, you know, get that out there. Also, like, you know, 6 games in, like I don't understand. I'm just trying to think through this logically. Like if putting myself in Zion's shoes, why now? Why this way? You know, and I can't come to any good conclusions there. So if you take it at face value with what the org is saying, is that he's trying to play through some stuff, he's actually hurt. Where does that put you guys if you have that bit of information?
Go ahead, Mason.
I mean, I will definitely give him credit for trying to play through stuff. You know, like it would have been very normal to say, you know, Zion's out with X for, you know, he's going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks, right? And so I guess it's like a shout to the org and to Zion, but 1, Zion's willing to play through this, and 2, that the organization is at least like not just shutting him down, because I think you may have seen something like that in years past. So again, I don't know, the med staff's going to know things I could never know, and so they might be able to clearly say, like, this is not a risk, even though hamstrings seem like could be a risk regardless. But look, I mean, I respect the push to play through this, as long as you feel like the org is being honest with you, Shamit, and they're not, you know, kind of coordinating on what the response should be for something like this, because they can probably feel the frustration from the fan base. And so I'm not trying to conspiracy theorist this, but I do think there could be a little chance that there is a solid message coming through from the org as well about this. But yeah, I mean, well, I guess we'll see what happens, you know.
You tell him, both of y'all. As Mason, he looks better. He hasn't looked this good since 2022 when he came out
this early in the year. Yeah,
like he has played well on both ends. Do spurts like that Cleveland game. I was extremely worried because they're so long and so tall in the front court, and he just for the most part, had his way, especially in the second half. He got a double-digit free throw attempt, shot 50% from the field, had a really good game, and had a couple turnovers. But other than that, like, he played well. My friend texted me like Zion was the only one he felt confident stopping Donovan Mitchell. Like, he played well that game. So it's frustrating when you see him play that well. He's questionable. He plays, he leaves, he comes back, plays well. Okay, maybe we could steal this Orlando game. They're missing Paulo, and he misses the game again.
Yeah, I mean, again, it ruled out the day of, right? There, he
was at practice. He was practicing. Well,
yeah.
They show pictures of practicing.
Yeah, like look, so that Cleveland game, he spoke on it. We talked about what he spoke on after the game, but the other thing he brought up, Teresa Weatherspoon was at that game. She came down, tapped in with the Pelicans players, caught up with them, and then Zion gave an extended answer on what Teresa Weatherspoon means to him, and how he views her as a big sister, and how he told her that he needed her there, and he texted her to let her know that she should pull up, and he didn't actually know she's going to be at this particular game, but something that he had been wanting. And I'm not trying to be any kind of like armchair psychologist or anything, but I do wonder what these injuries and what Zion's own body. I want to say, I don't want to use the word failing him, but it's kind of what is going on to a degree.
It sounds so much like the Joel Embiid situation.
His body not responding.
His body's just not doing what he wants him to do. But then he probably, if we're frustrated, he's probably like, I just played so well against Cleveland, and now I'm out. Like, why won't you do what I need you to do? Because I want to be out there.
Yeah. So I guess where are you guys at on the mental struggle that he might be experiencing? And I'm not trying to say, look, he's trying to overcome any kind of mental hurdle, or doesn't trust his body, anything like that. But as a human, it's still frustrating to go through.
I'm going through things because my car was in the shop this week, and that's a mental that got on my nerves. So I can only imagine. I need my car to drive. He needs his body to work. So I can't even imagine. I can try, but there's no way you can fully understand the issues with the athlete's psyche, especially when it comes to his body.
Yeah, especially he may not even realize it. Like there are things where or your body is reacting to stress or anxiety in ways that you maybe mentally aren't. Like, only in hindsight, maybe you think about, yeah, you know what, I didn't feel right. And so, like, I mean, there's that element too, where it may just, you get lost in the moment, so to speak. And so I don't think any of us can, really relate to what he's gone through. And I always think about these guys, like I hear from the fan base, like, oh, this guy's making millions of dollars to just sit. I'm just like, do you know how awful that must feel to feel like that, to feel like you're getting paid that kind of money and not contributing? I would be wrecked with guilt, so there's two sides to this.
I really, truly, hey, fans, we got to do better with this. I understand that, the economic state of wage disparity and whatnot. If we're going to be, if we want to get in depth, we can do that. They spent their entire lives sacrificing a whole bunch of shit to get where they are right now to make this money. And you just see the numbers. You don't see the things that they gave up, the places they wanted to be when they were young and they couldn't go because they wanted to perfect their craft to get to this 0.01% level of basketball player to make this money. We gotta kill that shit. Stop pocket watching, If you want to be out there because you want to see him have fun and you're frustrated with that, that's all good. If you will talk about his money, do better. Be better at life. How about that? Be better at life than worry about another athlete's money.
Express the frustration with the organization, or if you want to complain about season ticket prices because of all this, have the fuck at it. Absolutely. I get that for sure, but don't point the finger at the players. That's all. So
the last topic that I want to touch on with regard to this is Zion's own personal responsibility and culpability in this. As an athlete, I don't think it is unfair to say during his career he's put in the requisite amount of work to have his body be the best it could possibly be, right? I believe that he's made changes. And I also believe that he was starting from such a low point that a lot of the changes that he's made are right now just only undoing the stuff that he's done over the years. And it's not quite there in terms of the actual building and fortifying of his body and his mental, right? It's a process that's going to take some time, and it's only going to actualize if he continues to stick to that process. And that's something he's got to do diligently no matter how bad he's feeling. And it's not going to necessarily be linear, but he talks about it. This is his words. He's got to stack days. He's got to stack good days. And every single day he should be able to tell himself, I did something that's going to work towards the positive of this. Because at first he's got to undo all the bad stuff, and then he's got to build. There is a pathway. I believe it. There is a pathway for him to be a more durable player. I don't know if he'll ever be, Mikal Bridges playing 82 games, Jonas playing 82 games. I don't know if he's ever going to be that kind of guy, but I do think he can escape this day-to-day uncertainty of, am I going to suit up tonight or not?
Well said. Couldn't say it even better than that. Guess we could talk about more fun things like numbers.
Well, I mean, I think that's it's a critical point that you just made, Shamit, because I can appreciate that, Jeremy and I's comments are trying to remove culpability from Zion, or interpreted that way, and that's certainly not not the intent. And so we've because he and I both talked about how we've had concerns with how Zion's handled his body, his approach to being in NBA shape, and so I think that there are things that he needs to get better at. I also think that your point around the point where he started from, which I do not think is necessarily all on him. Some of it is genetics and just your overall body type. And so that is,
and some of it is the environment he was in. I do think that the way Lee Anderson approached his training regimens, and allowed people to be around him or who not to be around him, or the lack of investment in certain areas, I think that contributes.
And we've heard stories about Luka, about Jokic, about Marcus Gasol. We heard about LeBron eating all type of bad foods when he was young. It only matters if you don't play or not. You only harp on it when they miss time. You harp on Joel because he misses time. You don't care about LeBron when he plays 82 games. You don't care about you use excuses. Oh, well, he's not that explosive. And that could be true, but if you're playing, no one gives a fuck. And that's the bottom line of it. So I don't know what's more to say about that. Like I just don't know how much more to say about that.
Cool.
I've been cussing a lot. I'm sorry.
You're good, man. This is not a family. I mean, it's a family-friendly show, but not a family-friendly show. You all know what we mean. Pull up, but maybe cover the ears.
Sorry, Mom.
Let's progress forward. So, wrote an article on the Substack. Please do check it out. It's about the Pelicans shot profile. Surprise, surprise. We're talking about their shot profile. And you may be wondering, why could you possibly want to talk about the shot profile of a team that's missing 7 of its 8 best players, 6 of its 8 best player on a night-to-night basis? And well, look, I think it's important because of how extreme the results I found were. So, in a nutshell, look, everybody is talking about threes. Everybody is like, well, the Boston Celtics are shooting 50 threes a game. Anthony Edwards, why is he taking so many threes a game? And by the way, he's doing a really, really good job, and he should continue to take them if he's hitting
9 of 15 last night. The dude can't miss.
Yeah, he's incredible. But yeah,
Adam, I'm mad at you. I'm mad at you if you're watching.
Love Adam, man.
But yes, the 3-point revolution seems to have caught fire again after about 4 years of plateauing. There is an even greater bump in the league, and the Pelicans made a concerted effort to try and take more 40. game. They have pretty much failed on that front. However, I completely acknowledge you're not going to hit that marker with CJ out and with Trey Murphy out and with DeJounte out and with Zion paint gravity, being in and out of games. You're just not going to hit that. It's easy to get lost talking about threes. What people are not talking about are rim attempts. The bread and butter of basketball, playing close to the basket, playing in the paint, that is still a more efficient shot than the three ball. It is still the shot that no defense wants to give up. And every offense, if they could, I think it was JJ Redick that said about Zion, like if you could go down there and get a left-handed layup every single time, or a strong-handed layup every single time, you would do it too. And that's how the NBA works. If they could get a layup every single time, they would do it too. The Pelicans, unfortunately, are not getting many layups, not getting many rim looks at all. And this has been a trend in the Willie Green years. And under Stan Van Gundy, the Pelicans were first in rim rate. And then every year since, they've kind of declined. They flirted with top 10, when they were mostly healthy and they had JV and they had Zion in some of years. But even in those years, they had more mid-range attempts. In every single year of Willie Green's tenure, they've had more attempts from the mid-range area than they've had at the rim. So that's the offensive side of the ball. Let me leave that there. We'll talk about the defensive side. Jeremy, you wanted to talk process. Let's talk process. When I throw those numbers out to you, or when you read the article, I guess, what did you walk away with?
I mean, we talked about this a couple episodes back about how you need to get to the rim. And when it comes to the guys on the court right now, like we can use injuries as an excuse, you still see far too often that they are willing to attack a closeout and can't get to the rim and settle on another mid-range jumper. We're going to talk about Brandon Boston. I like him. He's really keeping me sane throughout this run. He takes a lot of pull-up mid-range jumpers too. Like they are, Shamit put it perfectly in this article. The offense is set up for you to take shots where you're comfortable with. And a lot of these dudes are comfortable taking mid-range jumpers and floaters, and they're not comfortable taking threes. And you have to find a way to mess with the math game. You have to find a way. They lost an offensive rebounder in JV. They lost a paint presence in JV. You lost all the talent. So you just have to, if you're not going to get to the rim, or you're not going to play defense, because he's going to talk about that later, you have to get these threes up in the half court. Even if you miss them and get the defense scrambled and get attack offensive rebound, you have to get these threes up to try to mess with the mat game. You can't just settle for another 18-foot jumper. And it's not all Brandon, and it's not Brandon Ingram who's not taking all these threes anymore either. So it can't just blame. We can't have a whipping boy.
I see. I'm like the worst number is not on the offensive side. It's the defensive side, right? Like, it is a layup line.
He wanted to get to that, so that's why I didn't. That's why I didn't say it yet. I didn't say it yet.
I want this to be a Jonas. I want this to be a Jonas appreciation podcast. At some point.
We'll get to the defense.
No, you're right. All right. Yeah. I mean, I echo everything Jeremy said, and I think it is like that last point specifically. BI is getting them up. I mean, is it where we all want him to be? Maybe not. But at least he's making the effort. And it's in concert, it's like the shot profile is bad. It's not like catastrophic, but it is bad. I mean, like they're like third worst in the NBA in percentage of mid-range shots. They're behind the Kings because hi DeMar DeRozan, what's up, man? And then the Clippers. Like those are the two who are taking higher percentage of mid-range shots.
And they haven't been able to get to the rim in the last 3 years. The last 3 years, the Clippers haven't been in the rim.
Yeah, and so I offense again. Yeah, I'm excited to get to the defensive side of this because offense, I feel like it can be a product of who's available, right? A bunch of their 3-point shooters are just not there, and so how much can you do there? And then they're lacking talent. Like Jose's trying, right? I mean, the other guys are trying, but There's process, and then there's just you don't have the bodies, you don't have the guys to do it, and so I'm trying to be a little bit more measured in my response to the offense and the bad shots over the first 10 games, just because it's been a revolving door of who's actually in the game. I apologize for going to the defensive side too much.
So you said offensively, their philosophy is the kid from Miami screaming, "Good job, good effort, good job."
Yeah, right. More or less, yeah.
So here's my pushback. Here's why I think it's a little more than who's available, and it's a little more structural. Every single year in under Willie Green's career, if you look at all of their mainstay players, and you can even do it for players they've added via trade, their rim attempts have gone down, and they've hit career low points. This happened to JV. This happened to CJ. These guys were not even part of the organization, right? This happened to Brandon Ingram year over year over year. He's at a career low rim attempt rate at the moment. This has happened to
Steven
Zion.
Adams.
Steven Adams will be a part of it. We'll talk about that. Zion is at a career low rim attempt rate, and he's contributing to these mid-range numbers because a lot of his shots are coming from outside of that 3-foot area. They're coming in the paint. And for people who are conditioned to believe that all paint looks are good looks, I did a deep dive on this, and the results found that after about the 6 or 7 foot mark, efficiency falls off a cliff. And this is efficiency including offensive rebounding opportunities, including free throw attempts, right? We are factoring in the expected value. So around, outside of the rim and around to the 6-7 foot mark, the expected value of that possession is still 1.09 points per possession. That's still a pretty solid possession, particularly in the half court. Those are looks inside that dotted line, between those two circles. Those are good looks for a lot of people to floater range. As soon as you start getting to those long floater range, start getting to the free throw line in that area, it is functionally not different than taking a foot on the line too.
And that passes the eye test, because it's the in between. It's not a jumper, but it's not a floater either.
Yes.
So you got to do weird stuff to even shoot that ball.
How often have you seen? How often you seen on this team a guy close out, attacks hard, takes 2 dribbles in, can't get to the paint, and goes right to that little nail, long floater range, and takes an in between jumper that they're not used to taking?
Yes, and what's happening is the good teams, they're getting to those spots and they're not settling for that shot anymore. Good teams are excising that shot from their shot profile entirely. First, they came for those catch and shoot long twos. Then they came for pretty much all long twos. Now they're coming for pull up twos and these short mid-range shots, which the Pelicans players in particular have not been good at. Zion is being pushed away from the rim, and he's finding himself more in that floater range, a little bit past that floater range, and he's simply not. He's been about 36% from the field from this range, and that's just not good enough, right? And we talk about him needing to develop a floater, a mid-range shot, and he does need to do that, but there's got to be a threshold for efficiency there. Beyond Zion, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Jose Alvarado, each year declining in rim attempts, each year. Every single mainstay rotation player declining. Now, last year, they didn't really make a real difference in the three-point attempts. So they're getting compressed to the mid-range. And to me, that is a function of the opposing defense doing what it's designed to do. Every single defense in the NBA is designed to take away the league's most efficient shots. They want to run you off that three-point line. They want to chase you away from the paint, and they want to compress you into that mid-range area. And I think the Pelican shot profile is a symptom of the offense. And the offense, I think, is too easily designed to get compressed into that mid-range area. And I think players are likely comfortable trying to take those paint twos, which I don't think are necessarily analytically great. And therefore, I do think this needs a change. And I'm not saying that you need to have the ideal shot profile to be the most efficient offensive team in the league. When they're all healthy, they're going to be a good offense. Like they're going to get to a lot of the spots that we're talking about too, just off of sheer talent. What I'm saying is if all things were considered equal, they would be more effective on offense if they were to change this philosophy.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Totally fair. And I think it's the same similar with Zion, where like it's about the multi-year trend here, and like you're pointing that out very clearly. It's like, yeah, it's going to be hard to generate those types of looks with the guys you have out there, but it doesn't change the fact that this has been a long time trend, and there's no reason to expect anything different because of the style of play. So I certainly think that plays a huge factor here as well, despite the lack of available talent.
The Pelicans have not won the shot profile battle in any single game they have played this year. And in fact, they have the biggest differential in the league. They're 30th, about almost. I mean, I think that this current Magic game actually was it was almost a 30-point differential, 30 percentage point differential.
I can help you out right quick. The Pelicans missed more rim attempts than the Magic, and the Magic took more than double the rim attempts than the Pelicans. It was, according to Cleaning the Glass, it was 37-18. Pelicans were 9-18. The Magic were 32 of 37. And a lot of that did help because the Magic played defense, and that helps with your offense. And I'm going to let Shamit and Mason rant on that right now.
Yeah. just one thing, Mason, before you rant on it. Yeah, so actually the Magic had a rim and three rate of 81.4%. The Pelicans are 58.3. It was just bad. However, so the Pelicans have had the largest one. They are 30th in the league at giving up rim attempts on defense. 30th. Teams are getting over 42% of their looks from the field at the rim. And look, you don't even have to be you could be one of the league's least efficient teams and convert them at 60%, and that would still be an incredible offense. And believe me, teams are converting them at a much higher rate than 60%.
All I'll say is the Orlando Magic have a bottom 5 offense this year, and they were missing their best player, and they still did that to the Pelicans. Again, I know talent deficit for New Orleans as well, but the Magic already aren't operating. Paolo's been incredible, and so he's like, their offense has another gear available because of how good he's been. But he wasn't there, and even with him, there have been a bottom 5 offense, and yet the Pelicans couldn't do anything to stop them.
Breaking news. Chris Haynes just reported that New Orleans Pelicans swingman Trey Murphy III has a target of making his season debut Monday versus the Brooklyn Nets.
Did this pod talk about the Nets game as a hypothetical at some point?
Possibly.
I don't know.
Listen to us now, believe us later on.
Right. That's good news. We'll talk about that in a second. Back to the defense. Look, again, if you just look beyond the surface level numbers, there's a couple of things at play here. The Pelicans are turning the ball over like crazy, and in bunches. They don't just happen, over the course of a game. It's like, boom, 4 possessions in a row, can't even cross the half court line basically, and it's dunks on the other end. And that is contributing to a really, really, really high opponent rim rate. If you're just consistently playing in transition defense, then that's going to be terrible. In looking at some of the individual numbers, you look at how frequently opponents are getting to the rim with different people are on the court, and the Yves Missi on-offs are just horrendous, and they're just really bad. You would expect a rim protector to be deterring shots, and the Pelicans are something like 11 points worse in terms of allowing rim attempts when he's on the court. And it's the flip side for Daniel Theis. Jeremy, you have something to say there.
It's like we can go after the Rook, but it's not the Rook. It's like the Pelicans guards defend as though they have prime Orlando Magic Dwight Howard in the paint. Why do we have to defend? They're as you put in your article, they're just so small, and they just let anyone get past them. And Hawk get well soon. I'm tired of seeing you giving a backdoor cut. Like, I'm just sick of it. Like, I can't. Like,
Especially when you're not making them yourselves.
Yeah, yo.
Rim and three rate. His first of all, his 3-point rate should never be under 50%. It's in the 40s.
Yo, man. Like we said in the preseason, if it ain't a 3, man, we might as well call it a turnover. I don't care if you're hitting them or not.
He is 4th percentile when it comes to percentage of shots at the rim. 4th. One of the worst in the league at it. And of course, he's up there. He's way up there on the twos. Way up there.
You know what? 98 percentile of the mid-range jumper. But yeah, but it's also go ahead.
No, it's just because all he does is turn it over, and he only just started passing out of drives. Like, I feel like he just started doing that, and before that, he was just kind of turning it over every single time he drove. So I'm not surprised to hear that number.
Yeah,
turnovers turn to quick runouts, and as you said, it's more rim rate.
Nisi's been on the court for those binges of turnovers, right? So that's part of what is contributing to those wild on-off numbers. Same with Daniel Tice, like that. It's happening, and some of it is the size, but I do think this is an overall, like, larger indictment of the personnel, because in years past, the Pelicans went through their bouts of injuries, and basically whatever lineup Willie Green threw out there, they would be at baseline competent defensively, right? Even the JV lineups, even the Hawkins lineups last year topped out at a league average defense. Like, that was it. You're like, all right, cool. Like, we're gonna be, for these 5-8 minutes, that's gonna be a league average defense, and it's not gonna be their normal elite one. So that's been a little bit problematic this year. And how much would you guys attribute that? We talked about guys not healthy, not being available, but how much would you attribute that to not having Najee, Dyson, Larry specifically, and JV? We'll throw JV in there because he did his job too.
We had a bunch of lengthy turnover wrecking machines and a possession ender. And we talked about it a couple of shows ago. Just the baseline that JV, the high floor he would give being the center. We focus so much on the amount of shots once they make it to the rim will go in. And I always said, because the defense is set up to not allow you to get to the rim or turn you over before you get to the rim. And I just looked it up according to Clean the Glass. They're 16th this year at defensive turnover possessions. They are normally in the top 6 for under the Willie Green era. It is part of the philosophy to cause chaos, to have all this length, and to do the Jedi mind trick on defense, because you're seeing all these arms, and you hesitate or you're not comfortable taking the shot. And these guys now, they're just so small, and they don't disrupt, and they don't cause chaos. And it is in. I don't want to give a ball article, but the percentage of threes made is just astronomical. It is not of the Willie Green era. I'll just say that much.
Yeah. If you, I guess on the threes first, I feel like there was regression coming for a long time on the 3-point thing. I feel like a lot of people talk at length about, is it luck or is it skill? Like, are you getting the right people to shoot those threes? I think that this was overdue for the Pelicans to an extent. On the rim side, yeah, the Pelicans, to both of your points, they've been allowing, they haven't allowed a ton of rim attempts, and the percentage has been high, but it's been okay because they deter so many of them. The fact that the Pelicans, the defensive shooting frequency at the rim for the Pelicans, not only is it 30th, it's the same. The difference between 30th and 29th is the same as like 29th and 20th. It's not even close. So it's the worst part. It's the single most heavily driving factor in this differential. And so it's been really bad. The fact that they're allowing it, and they're bottom 10 in the percentage too, and the accuracy and the frequency. It's a disaster.
And to Jeremy's point about JV being a possession ender, they are 30th in opponent offensive rebounding percentage. 30th. So we talk about winning the math game all the time, right? Where are you going to win it? Offensively, are you going to win it with your shot profile? Are you going to win it with winning the possession game? Are you going to get off more offensive rebounds? Are you going to force turnovers and get up more shots that way, right? Defensively, where are you going to win the math game? Is it with your shot profile? Is it with your rebounding? Is it with the turnovers? And right now, they are losing it everywhere on all fronts, and it's just a catastrophe.
So blue. It's so blue. Derogatory on Cleveland. The guy. It's just so much blue defensively. Oh my god.
Or for those unfamiliar, what Jeremy is referring to is those percentiles on cleaning the glass, and blue is bad.
Bad.
Blue is very bad. You want to be orange, a dark orange, and that's closer to the 99, the high 90s percentiles.
To Mason's point, the league average is 33.2% of your shots allowed at the rim. The Pelicans right now are giving up 42.4% of the shots at the rim. Like, that is a recipe for disaster. You can and have the second worst effective field goal percentage defensively. Like, it's layup lines, man. You can't win.
Because they are top 10 in 3-point frequency.
Yes.
So they're not giving but it's because they just go straight to the rim.
It's go to the rim.
You know, a couple of things here. You guys talked about the Jedi defense. I will mention it. They were, when I last checked, giving up 49.5% on opponent wide open threes. And look, that was the regression that Mason was talking about. I do believe that's not where they're going to finish the year. They're just in a bad variance stretch. All these compounding factors are just smacking them in the face right now. As Willie Green said, they're going through a little bit of a storm at the moment. And buddy, I think it's a typhoon. I think it's a tempest, a full blown tempest.
And what I will say, 3-7 is much better than 1-9. Like, you just don't understand. Like, it sounds small, but they get 3 wins and not be 1-9, just because they had to weather a 1-9 storm in, albeit weaker Western Conference. But to get 3 wins despite all the bad things going around you, like, that is something to smile about. See,
the one thing that I am positive about, I feel really confident in this. When dudes get healthy,
yes,
the defensive side will trend more towards the norm of what we've seen with the Pelicans. I have no doubt. DeJounte Murray and Herb Jones will contribute to creating opponent turnovers. DeJounte Murray will contribute to not turning the ball over. All of these things. When Trey Murphy and CJ are putting the ball in the hoop, they'll be able to play more half-court defense, right? The Pelicans have been, I think, 28th or 29th in opponent defense off of misses. Like, they're just not even getting back in transition. And when these more veteran guys, these athletic guys get back on the court, I think the Pelicans will normalize to what they've been at above average to a good defense. I think that is where they will end up.
And Murphy's Trey's coming back. Look, he led the league last year in turnover percentage. Like, he is a decisive player who's either going to catch the ball, shoot it, or get to the rim, or get to the free throw line, or make the next pass. He is quick decisions, and that component is sorely missed. That alone will help both the offense and defense, just because he's going to put a shot on goal. Just putting a shot on goal or helping someone else put a shot on goal is going to help both sides of the ball tremendously. You're going to notice it immediately.
Yeah, I'm a big believer their offense is what's contributing to their defensive woes at the moment. Any final things on this topic before we move on to the concluding topic here?
No, I don't have any more.
I've yelled enough.
Yes.
All right. We're going to turn it over to Jeremy to do our little Western Conference check-in. So, first of all, some trivia I think Jeremy probably knows the answer to this, but this is for Mason. And Jeremy, if you don't know, feel free to chime in. How many teams in the Eastern Conference over 500 right now?
2. It's 2. And it's the 2 you think
of
too.
No,
it's 2.
That's insane.
It's 2.
It's 2.
It's the world champion Boston and
Cleveland.
And 10-0 Cleveland Cavaliers.
How many teams in the Western Conference over 500?
I don't know the answer. I do know that the 11th place team has 5 wins, and they want to play 9 games.
The answer.
All right. Western Conference check-in. Eastern Conference fans, be lucky Jeremy is not here.
Not
to
talking
roast
about
you
your
guys.
time. If you saw the column is in the Substack, I just put a column about how happy you should be. And to be fair, like all but at the time I wrote that, I said all but 2 teams should find some sort of happiness because quite frankly, like the Mavs fans are losing their mind. Yo, Luka is starting the season poorly from the field. You're gonna get better from the field. The Rockets, who I also think are over 500. One, I don't understand how you thought Fred VanVleet wasn't going to be this type of shooter, but you have a whole bunch of athletic wings. You have a whole bunch of youth that's hitting their stride. Tara Easton looks like a godsend. Amen Thompson, just watch him play defense. Just watch him play defense. You're gonna love him. Golden State, we back. Like we back. Like y'all are doing post split after post split. Buddy Hield has become everything they missed about Klay Thompson last year. He can't miss. They got their own version of Kyle Lowry with pods. And oh, by the way,
Hey, stop jumping on people's shoulders, bro.
Yeah, don't do that. By the way, Draymond played 3 games without Steph Curry and didn't get a technical foul. Like, I don't know how y'all have to be happy about that, right? Like, just check it out. The only teams at the time I said were in the darkness were Denver and the Clippers, and Denver has won 6 out of 7. You know what I'm saying?
Now the Clippers.
Now Denver look like Denver again. And even like if you're a fan of Utah Jazz, you know the deal is. You know why you're here. We thought this would happen in Milwaukee. I mean, not Milwaukee. At Martin Luther King Day, but you know why you're here. Just check out the article. I try to be a little funny. Try to put some smiles on your faces, including the Pelicans, because thankfully they won. I wrote this right after they beat the Pacers, so I found some happiness with us.
So Jeremy,
I think big picture, the Western Conference standings look like you might expect, other than maybe the Warriors definitely are one that jumps out to you. And then unfortunately the Pelicans a little bit, just because of their strength of schedule, you would expect that they would be better. But more other than that, like it kind of feels right.
Yeah, it feels right. It's a tough conference, and everyone's playing good ball. If you don't have League Pass, get League Pass. Everyone's playing good ball.
There's ways to sail the high seas.
Well, I mean, if you're a fan of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and you a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, you have maybe Raid if you love Las Vegas. You find
ways to watch.
Ways to watch.
Anyways, Jeremy, the one Western Conference things I want to talk to you about, you didn't have OKC at your top when we started discussing this in the summer. They are doing their job in the regular season thus far. Kind of their advanced metrics have been insane for the Western Conference. Are you still of the belief that this is going to be a very good team, but you don't think it's the team coming out of the West?
Well, at the beginning in the offseason, I said there'd be 2. I said it'd be them and the Mavs. Or am I wrong? Even Phoenix is winning by the skin of their teeth in the clutch time. You were on Phoenix. You were on Phoenix at the beginning of the season, and you've seen through. Oklahoma City is just like, if you watched NFL Red Zone and you realize certain teams don't get played except for when they score touchdowns, that's what OKC is, because they're beating the crap out of everybody. So we're not even watching them. There's no reason to watch them at all. They just they look machine like. What I did say at the beginning of the season, I'm hanging my hat on. Chet Holmgren looks like a monster. He looks like he's about to be like a top 10 player in the league. And buddy, if SG
looked better than Wemby.
Yes, yeah, he's looked better than Wemby this year. Is he the best 7-footer in the game right now?
I wouldn't go that
Jokic is 7 foot. So
you're saying AD is not 7 foot?
Oh, AD has.
Are we how technical are you trying to get? Because like Anthony Davis has been incredible.
Okay. But I mean, what I'm trying to say is like Chet gave Jokic everything to handle. That's what I'm talking. Like Chet looks like he is coming. And OKC, yeah, they seem to be a class of their own. And when I
wait till they trade for Giannis.
Oh, hey! I was already told that someone told me to get that fantasy out of their Western Conference. Because, buddy, look, J-Dub, I'm not as high as other people are. Even if you're high on them, hey man, I hope you like cheese.
So, but the Giannis stuff is very, very interesting because a lot of Pelicans fans, of course, are now in tune because the Pelicans own the Bucks pick if it lands in the top 4. And of course, if the Bucks keep losing, they just got blown out by the New York Knicks. And Giannis had a lot to say about that. You know, there's been, hey, can we trade Zion for Giannis? Can we trade Brandon for Giannis? But first of all, respect to those two guys, I would say both of them in a heartbeat for Giannis and not twice. Second of all, any Giannis trade is strictly dependent on Giannis. I don't even think it's dependent on the Bucks. I think it's when Giannis decides he wants to go and where Giannis decides he wants to go. And so I personally have a hard time thinking that is going to be a place called New Orleans. So I'm not going to do the Laker fan thing where I'm just going to get my hopes up for this. But yeah, that is all I will say on that specific topic.
I mean, he plays with so much aggression. Like, there's no way he's going to go to a place just to go to a place. He wants to win. He wants to win in Milwaukee. Like, I'm fairly certain he still wants to win in Milwaukee. He wouldn't have tried to get that Dame trade where he knew he was getting rid of a good player in Drew if he didn't want to win in Milwaukee. I had faith in them, and they just look like a bunch of unathletic old guys. Everyone's issues they had with them are coming to light right now.
On the flip side, the final thing that I wanted to talk about was the funniest play that I saw this week. It was in the Grizzlies versus Wizards game, JV and Zach Edey getting into it a little bit. JV trying to pull some of his own veteran tricks, ends up getting Edey, and Edey shoves him back, and Edey stares JV down. And I'll be honest, I've never really seen JV shy away from something, and I think he shied away from something there.
JV's like his number one thing is I'm going to mess with every young big in the NBA. I'm going to pull out every old man trick in the book. I'm going to give you every elbow to the stomach. I'm going to trip you on the screen. I'm going to find ways. And Edey was like, I will take you out. And I've never seen JV like, yo, maybe he will take me out, because Edey is not to be trifled with either. So that was fun. It was funny to see that clip of Zach just already being full grown Memphis player.
Edey's going to be a menace for years to come. I'm excited to watch.
Grizzlies just got to have an enforcer named Zach on their team. I think that's pretty much
that's what it is. That's what it is.
Just got to do it. The missing ingredient. I still think he is going to be a rookie of the year, and the way this rookie class is going, there really hasn't been much competition.
I will say, Ricochet had a couple good games in a row for Atlanta. Put up 33 a couple nights ago.
The Pelicans.
So, yeah. So I don't think it's a tight race. No, I think it'll be a tighter race. I just don't think there'll be many participants for the rookie of the year. That's what I'll say it.
All right. We are going to wrap it up here. Jeremy, would you do us the honors?
Okay, maybe I do pre-think this. You see that bell? Click it, subscribe. Look, get us to 400 subscribers. We don't want a lot. Like the video, have us beat the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, share it with a friend. Again, if you're in there, you live with your brother, put it on his iPad. If you're with your mom, tell her just say, hey, just play it for 45 minutes and you put it on mute. We don't care. Give us the views, give us the likes, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, and we truly appreciate y'all. Y'all the best fans of the world, man. Trust me.
And I will say what Jeremy didn't say is when you get to 400, we're gonna ask for more again. Just being completely honest with you, we're gonna ask for more.
Hey,
keep that
again,
button.
59, 426 mark. Make sure you edit out what Shamit says. We won't have to worry about it. We'll ask for 401 when we get there.
Yeah, cut that one out.
Cut that
Oh,
out.
who's the editor? Anyways, thanks for listening.